And now it is time for the Else Reviews. Corey, let's start with yours because yours sounds pretty interesting, my friend.
Yeah, I'm kind of a little bummed out of Sean's choice because Sean set me on a path a couple weeks ago of saying that he was going to discuss something on the next episode, but that he didn't get to make it for that episode. But musically, I've been going through some weird stuff, and I don't even know how I fell upon this. But shifting through YouTube, I came across this remix artist. He's a musician. He does other stuff as well, but he goes by Tronicbox. And what he's been doing is 80s remixes of popular current songs and artists. So he's got one of Closer by a group that he calls the Marlboro Smokers, but obviously we know them as the Chainsmokers. He's got some great stuff with Lady Gaga, a Cool for the Summer by, I don't know, one of those teenagers.
Demi Lovato.
Demi Lovato. I actually like that song. I like the original song too. Some Ariana Grande, some Canadian Bastards. I mean, Justin Bieber's. And it's interesting to see it on the YouTube because what he does is he plays it back like a VHS tape playing, and all of the artists are done up in an 80s phase of pageantry. Like when you look at Justin Bieber, he looks a little bit like Uncle Jesse from Full House. When you look at one of the pictures of Lady Gaga, she looks like Dolly Parton. There was some aerobicized work done on Katy Perry, but that could actually just be a legitimate picture of Katy Perry. I'm not putting anything past that girl. But it's so much fun, and I've listened to a lot of the synthesized 80s kind of throwback stuff. Certainly when Stranger Things came out, the music for that is an 80s throwback, and I listened to a lot of the other bands that were doing stuff like that already, and this is just that next step. It's more recognizable, but he does such a fantastic job of completely remaking the song. Just the lyrics, whatever the person is singing is there, but everything in the backing tracks is completely changed. And sometimes he'll change the tempo down or up to make it poppier or more of a ballad, and it just works so seamlessly and so well, and they're all very masterfully done. You can listen to it on SoundCloud as well, but I've just been going to YouTube and playing it in the background over and over again. It's really fun.
Yeah, I'm checking it out right now, and it does sound really cool. I also realized that, like, doing two separate volume things, like, so my speakers have a volume, and then the computer, I'm, like, blasting my ear out right now. But yeah, it's... Yeah, I could see myself listening to this tomorrow at work.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much nostalgia you have for the 80s since you weren't in them or anything, but
I was born in 89, so you can shut the fuck up.
I'm just saying, a long time ago, back when cable was only 30 channels, we had our own style of music.
And
that was a thing?
One of those channels actually played music videos, so...
Actually, I remember a time when two channels played music videos.
Well, see, that's what you're saying. You're later. You've got more channels and more music.
And they were right next to each other, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you had to wait for shit you like to come onto those channels.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, when are we going to hear Dokken? Quit it with the Angels of Centerfold, you bastards.
And see, I, on the other hand, would be like, why are we listening to Dokken when we could be listening to, Centerfold by Jay Giles?
Jay Giles was certainly a more stimulating video to watch.
That may or may not have been my reasoning.
Yep. Mute.
But yeah, so Tronicbox, that honestly sounds really awesome. Kevin, let's do yours next. Which Pirates of the Caribbean are you bringing to us?
I'm actually going to be talking mostly about
the ride.
Yes, I did go on the ride last summer, actually, when I was out at Disneyland in California. My cousin,
it still inspires you to this day.
It does. I live the life of a pirate. No, but I was actually going to talk about the most recent one, which is Dead Men Tell No Tales. I have never been a fan of the Pirates of the Caribbean series. The first one was pretty good. Second one was decent, and 3 and 4, I like to forget the fact that I even watched those movies. But this one I saw first. I saw it for Father's Day with my stepdad because my father here does not have any interest in those movies whatsoever, which is actually why we went and saw Wonder Woman today. But then yesterday, my girlfriend and I went out to celebrate our 1-year anniversary, and she's a huge Pirates of the Caribbean fan. Was so upset that she couldn't come with me to see it the first time, so I had to go see it again. But I'm not gonna lie, it's actually, and I say this both for people that are fans of the series and aren't fans of the series, it's a pretty good movie, actually. My girlfriend and I were talking about it. We both thought that it was at least as good as Curse of the Black Pearl, probably better.
Okay.
They do a really good job bringing in some older characters. Barbossa's in it. Will Turner and Elizabeth Swann do show up, as well as obviously Jack Sparrow. And so they bring in some of the older characters, you know, some recognizable faces and things, but they also have these 2 new characters, Henry Turner and Karina Smith, who are they kind of pass along the torch to them. They're a huge part of the movie. They're the ones that are really, the plot is focused on them and their own adventures and personal relationships with the characters.
Were these characters played by Johnny Depp's dogs?
No.
I just assume he takes them everywhere.
No, but it was kind of strange how much, because Henry Turner is Will Turner's son, and it was kind of strange how much the actor they got to play him looked like just a much younger Orlando Bloom. Like, it was, you don't usually...
Isn't Orlando Bloom still like 12?
He is, but this kid looks like he's like 6, so a much younger, or like half his age, Orlando Bloom.
Fair enough.
But it was just, and the story was so much better written, I thought, than the other ones. It was compelling. It was a really fun movie too. There were some really cool, fun scenes that were just nice to watch. And some of the jokes in there were really good too. I mean, it was funny to watch. It was fun. It was just all around. I mean, the movie's almost 2.5 hours, but it didn't feel like it watching it either of the times that I saw it. And some movies, you know what's coming and it just doesn't excite you. But with this one, even seeing it a second time, knowing what was coming, I was looking forward to getting to see that stuff again. Whereas with a lot of movies, you just kind of go, okay, well, I already saw this. I know what's coming. Let's just get it over with. And so I honestly, even for people that, you know, have maybe seen some of the earlier movies, or even if you haven't, but just have no interest in it, I would recommend this movie simply because it is fun and you don't really have to know much about what happened in the first few movies. And I think part of that is having these younger actors. It's kind of a new generation. There are some callbacks to the earlier movies, but nothing so groundbreaking that you have to watch them to understand what's going on.
Yeah, so Brenton Thwaites is the kid or the actor who plays the Henry Turner, and then Kea Scaldiero plays Karina Smith. Brenton Thwaites was in Gods of Egypt, and then Maleficent, and what was the other one? The Giver. I think he was the main character in The Giver.
Oh, okay.
And then Kea Scaldiero, I'm butchering her last name. She is in the first generation group with on the TV show Skins over from the UK.
And also, just to make Shadow and I feel completely horrible about ourselves, Orlando Bloom is 40.
Hey, still younger than me, bastard.
Younger than me too, but not a lot, and not looking like that. That is some harsh shit.
Yeah, the 2 years older than him I am have been a really, really hard 2 years.
Well, maybe they'll be hard on him too. Maybe 2 years you'll feel a lot better about yourself.
I doubt it.
I have never been in Orlando Bloom shape, so
no.
So Kevin, real quick, because
unless Orlando Bloom ate 5 other Orlando Blooms.
so Kevin, real quick, because I know in the commercials, I've only seen the commercials for Pirates, but how did you feel about the young Jack Sparrow scenes?
It was, for one, it was a little weird because instead of making young Jack Sparrow look like a young Johnny Depp, they made Johnny Depp look like a young Jack Sparrow, and it was just kind of a strange piece of CGI work that really didn't hold up. But the scenes themselves are very compelling because they tell a lot of Jack Sparrow's backstory, about how he got the last name Sparrow and became a captain. And they're also very compelling because it actually is the same scene that sets up the main villain, Captain Salazar, and why he is the way he is and why he's hunting Jack and these kids. And it's just, for the first couple scenes of the movie, you're not entirely sure what his motive is, but then it's I thought, a very masterful way to kind of set up the entire movie's plot. As well as we finally get some background on Jack Sparrow after 4.5 movies.
Yeah.
But
so you actually answered where I was. Yeah, you actually answered where I was going with that, because I know like this, and then Benjamin Button and the Avengers or Captain America Civil War, where they did the young Tony Stark. Civil War, I think.
Civil War. They did young Michael Douglas and Ant-Man. They did young, they did Snake Plissken in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. It's becoming a very overused effect on Disney's part.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I was wondering like how it looked, like if it looked, because when I saw the young Tony Stark in Captain America, it threw me out for that second.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, that looks, but like it did that with Tron Legacy and all the other times. Like actually Guardians 2 was the first time where it didn't take me out of it.
Yeah, because Kurt Russell really didn't look the same in those younger scenes. He looked like a different person. Whereas
he looked different from a young Kurt Russell.
Yeah. But I feel like a lot of these movies, they just, it's like they take the actor and I think they did do it in Captain America the First Avenger too, with Chris Evans, because they like plastered his face onto a smaller actor before he became Captain America.
Yeah.
And so it was,
but in that regard, it felt earned. The idea of taking the aged actor and making him younger for a scene, it almost feels like it's unnecessary to then do that scene. I know it's kind of ridiculous to have the original actor replaced by somebody younger who doesn't look a lot like them. But that Disney's doing that already with young Han Solo. Maybe at this point they're not. Maybe at this point they've decided that they can't get the guy to act, because I know that they've had to bring in acting coaches for him, and they're just going to have Harrison Ford's face plastered on a 10-year-old or something. Get off my damn Falcon! What? You have a teddy bear. What are you talking about? All right.
Instead of baby Groot, we get baby Chewbacca.
Big money lies in baby Chewbacca.
I bet it does, yeah.
But honestly, though, for that scene, I mean, that was the only problem that I had with it, was just visually, he did not look good. But everything else about that scene, I thought was really well done. It sets up the villain, gives you a lot more background on the hero and the plot, and it's only like a 5-minute scene out of this 2.5-hour movie. So it doesn't feel like it drags on or anything. It's just a really good way of setting everything up, I thought.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I think I'm going to check that out, but I think I might wait for Netflix, because I think it'll be one of those like, it goes to Netflix shortly after coming out on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Just because I've had, like, I liked the first one. I didn't enjoy the second one as much as the first one, because I'm like, it's a lot of the same. And then don't remember if I saw the third one. I know I did not see the fourth one, because it's just like, it's a lot of the same thing. It's Johnny Depp acting like he's, putting on an accent and then acting like he's, something else or whatever.
Yeah.
Blah.
The first one I loved. I thought the first one was such a great original movie. I thought it was a fantastic character. I thought Depp created Captain Jack Sparrow, and it was like one of those things of like, holy crap, that guy disappeared in this role. It did something completely original and fun. And then the second and the thirds were so dark and depressing compared to the first film, and in many ways repetitive. But just at the same time, it was just like it lost so much of the fun elements of the first one. And the fourth one is, frankly, for me, like Star Trek Beyond. It may have been a good movie. I just can't remember a goddamn thing about it 5 minutes after watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think too with this one, it's similar to the other ones because it is pirates and it's Johnny Depp and everything, but it's got enough original stuff, especially with the villain. I mean, I think Captain Salazar is probably the best villain that this series has seen. There's a lot of things about it that make it very different and very compelling compared to the other ones, and it's not as dark as 2 and 3 were. It's a little bit more lighthearted. It feels a little bit more Disney than the other ones did, which was kind of nice after seeing some of the stuff that they did with some of the other movies and everything. But overall, I did think they did a good job of kind of changing things up a little bit and bringing people into it a lot more than the other films did.
No, yeah, cool. So I'm gonna mention one of mine, and then we're gonna do Sean's because I'm gonna be talking about all three of these 4 things coming up. And because really quickly, it's the Last Leg Correspondents. It's a new all 4, like which is Channel 4 in the UK. It's their digital brand, so it's on YouTube. Where you can watch it. They're doing this thing where they're doing more John Oliver style reporting, but with comedians. The first one they did with a British Muslim comedian, and they were tackling, and they filmed it before some of the tragedies that had happened recently in England, and they were hitting some things. Like one of the parts they hit in the show was with like the radicalized Muslims is, well, what are they doing? What is he doing as an Islamic or as a Muslim to stop radical Islamic terrorism? And he's like, none of my friends are Islamic or are radical Muslims or anything like that. You know, it's sort of like asking, a banker, what are you doing to stop money laundering? And he did that. He goes to a bank. He's got a microphone. Like, hey, can I talk to you a second? What are you doing to stop money laundering? And all, just to point how stupid it is to talk about that. It's a great show. They only done 1 episode. I think there's going to be another episode coming out this week. But check it out. It's on YouTube. Just search Channel 4 or Last Leg Correspondents. I think I spelled it right in our show notes. I don't know. But Sean, you've been feeling the glow recently.
I have been all aglow recently.
You are the last dragon. You possess the power of female wrestling.
Yeah, and I'm going to put on my old man hat here for a minute and say,
wait, don't you always have that on?
Shut up. We're just previewing our cosplay that we're going to do as Statler and Waldorf at the next convention. But anyway, when I was a kid, I was into wrestling, like really into wrestling. I went to a friend's house and we did all the pay-per-view stuff. I used to go down to the Spectrum on a monthly basis and see the live show that would come to Philadelphia every month. It was such a big treat on Saturday nights to stay up when they did Saturday Night Main Event. But when I was a kid, you had Hulk Hogan, say your prayers and eat your vitamins, and you had guys walking around with 2x4s and entering the ring in kilts, and it was goofy and it was fun and it was full of schlock, and nothing was as schlockful as Glow was. Glow came out in like the late 80s. It was the gorgeous ladies of wrestling, and it was, I think the best way I've ever heard it described is it was part professional wrestling and part hee-haw. And it was very much in that vein. I mean, they had these little skits and the characters and everything. Well, Netflix has gone and made a show. It's a comedy. The episode, 10 episodes, about 35 minutes each episode. And it's got a great cast. Alison Brie is in it. Mark Maron, who I normally don't care for, to be honest, is fantastic in the role that he's got. And then there's a lot of other people who are not household names who are really good in the show. And it follows the creation of Glow. And the thing that I found really interesting was a lot of the the stuff that I read was like, yeah, they use the name and it's like really loosely based on it. But I think they actually undersold that part. I think it's really a lot more based on it than people are realizing. And I came to that realization because after I watched Glow, Netflix was kind enough to recommend a documentary that was made in 2012 by Stephen Yu, I think was the director. No, I'm mixing that up. He's the guy that did the Jake the Snake one. Never mind. I'm getting my wrestling documentaries mixed up. See, I've been going down my own rabbit hole lately. But anyway, they did a really good documentary and talked to a lot of the women that were involved. Even had them had a reunion at the end, and it was really very touching. But watching the documentary after watching the show, you see how many things they really hit on. You know, converted it, made it into comedy and things like that, but a lot of it is based in the actual historical fact. And the Glow show that Netflix did, the Netflix original, is it's funny, it's touching. You know, I may or may not have had to take my glasses off and wipe my eyes during the last episode. I'm not admitting to anything. Yeah. That's another thing that happens when you get old. But
your eyes start leaking.
Yeah, your eyes start leaking when you watch television and movies. But I can't recommend it enough. But if you're going to watch the show, do yourself a favor and invest the hour and 20 minutes into the documentary afterwards. I really think it gives you a better appreciation for what you just watched. And I mean, I loved that show when it was on. It was the worst possible. Like you watch the documentaries and you see the clips from it and you cringe and just go, oh my God, this was, you know, on television, let alone the fact that it was television I enjoyed. But it was the corny, goofy, zany side of professional wrestling. And, you know, I guess maybe it pulled on those heartstrings of my youth, but I really enjoyed the show and the documentary as well.
What I also enjoyed it. I've only seen the first 5 episodes. But the thing I had caught from because I'm a Attitude Era, like early Attitude Era with WWE, never watched WCW, to now watcher of wrestling. And it's cool to see like one of the actors, she has a recurring role, but she's a 5-time women's champion, you know, across the independents, and holding the then TNA, it's now Impact Wrestling championship. Kaya Stevens, she plays Tammy Dawson on there, also known as the Welfare Queen. She's an actual professional, you know, one of those, when I would watch her, I'd be like, man, I hate her. Like she's good, but it's like, I hate her because she's a great heel. Yeah. She's a great bad guy, because it's like, she's beating up on women like a quarter of her size. Not a quarter, but like, you know, like half her size. Oh, yeah. It's just like, it's like, who's going to beat her and stuff like that. But I mean, they've got, and out of the wrestlers that I've seen in here, like John Morrison plays the Salty the Sack Johnson from the first episode. You know, they got Brodus Clay, Carlito from WWE, Joey Ryan, Brooke Hogan's in here, Alex Riley, Christopher Daniels, and Frankie Kazarian are all in here. And like, so far I've only seen, you know, 4 of them with Kaya Stevens, who was Awesome Kong in TNA. But seeing her, John Morrison, and Brodus Clay, and I didn't realize it was Carlito until I looked here, and I'm like, wait, what? Yeah, because he didn't look like the dude with the poofy fro who would eat the apple and be like, I spit in the face of people who are not cool and all that. Like, he looked totally different here. But I've really enjoyed the show too, and I've never, you know, I loosely grew up on Hulk Hogan, you know, say your vitamins, or say your prayers, eat your
say vitamins. Your vitamins, eat your prayers. We got it.
yeah. And all that. But you know, this is. Yeah, go ahead. I mean, no, I was just gonna say, like, it's really cool to see this. Like, I do like Mark Maron's character in here. It's like, because he's skeevy, but it works. Like, he's doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And all that.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny because you mentioned the welfare queen character, and when that character in the show is being developed, there's a meeting in Mark Maron's office between Mark Maron and the welfare queen, and she's really voicing her concerns about how this is so stereotypical, this is so, you know, demeaning to you know, Black culture and things like that. And they have a really good back and forth about how this can be used as social commentary. And when you watch the documentary, they really go into a lot of the stuff about how they did a ton of stuff in the original show that was social commentary. So
Yeah.
I really liked the fact that they were willing to, you know, go down that route, because the Asian girl, her wrestling name is Fortune Cookie, you know, and then you've got the British girl who's Britannica, and you've got, you know, the all-American girl who's Liberty Bell, and then, you know, it's just, and then she ends up being enemies with the girl who does the Russian character. And, you know, and all of that was, you know, derived right from the original storylines in Glow. But it was really cool to see them do those types of things and have the characters not just blindly go into this and say, well, I'm an actress, I need the job, I'm going to do this. They really wrestled with, pun unintended. They really wrestled with the, you know, the social commentary of it as well, which I don't think I appreciated as a kid, but watching the documentary now, got a much better appreciation for what they really did with that.
Yeah. Also, I will add the Asian wrestler, as you call it, Jenny Che, the actress Ellen Wong, also played Knives Chow in Scott Pilgrim.
Mm.
Oh, she was in.
Yeah.
Oh, what was that horror movie that I've just been going nuts over recently? Damn it.
Silent Cargo? No. Silent Night?
No, it was the throwback kind of 80s feeling.
Part. The Void. The Circle.
The Void.
The Void.
Oh, yeah, that movie is so good. And she was the only actor or actress that I knew in that film.
Yeah. And again, this is one of those things, like seeing that, and I clicked, I'm like, that name, Ellen Wong, that name sounds so familiar. And like just me looking at the Wikipedia page, and I go, what? Oh, did not recognize her.
Yeah.
Like, did not, like, I mean, then again, I mean, Scott Pilgrim came out in 2010, so I mean, yeah, that was 7 years ago, but still, it was one of those, like, I'm like, what? You know, it threw me for a second, because it was one of those, much like Carlito, like they dove into this character, or, you know, enough time had passed where I hadn't really seen them, you know, on anything where it's like, okay, this is actually really interesting, like that they're doing good. Like I don't see them being, oh, this is Ellen Wong playing this character. I just see Jenny Che, who's an actor or actress in the 80s, who then becomes the fortune cookie.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But yeah, and so the documentary is available on Netflix?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So yeah, the last show we're going to mention here, and I know I'm cheating by doing two, and I don't care, because it's going to be really quick because it's one episode. It's the Gong Show. This is the return of the Gong Show. We talked about this before in the news with the fact that the host, Tommy Maitland, you might if you watch the show, you might recognize the voice, because that is Mike Myers. And I honestly wonder want to know how much of that is prosthetic, because if that's all prosthetic face, you know, like on him, how does he not like just sweat so bad where like in between actually like, hold on, we got to go cool off Mike and stuff like that. But did any of you guys see the Gong Show, the premiere last Thursday?
Was not aware it was a thing.
Yeah, I watched the last half of it when it repeated on Saturday, and Zach Galifianakis, Will Arnett, and Ken Jeong were the judges on it.
Yep.
And it just seemed like, other than Will Arnett, because I know he's a producer on the show, Ken and Zach seemed to have no fucking idea what they were doing on that show.
Oh, yeah, a little bit.
It just seemed they were just, how did I get here? It's one of those things where you've had your drink on all night and you wake up and you're in bed with a cowboy and 3 pigs, and you just go, fuck happened?
Wait,
And that
you're
might have been one of the acts on the show. I'm not sure if I'm remembering that correctly, but it was kind of a hot mess, which the Gong Show is, and I appreciate it for that perspective, because they didn't try to update the Gong Show and make it anything other than what it used to be.
No, yeah.
But it's also a show that's very hard to make successful. It was always kind of an underground program in the 70s and 80s when it was on. And then when they tried to bring it back with, I think Dave Attell was the host, it did not do well, even on Comedy Central, which can handle that kind of show. ABC, primetime, weird.
But it's going in the summer. So I could easily see, like, I was talking, because my grandma, she watched, actually, yeah, it was the Saturday replay, because I had brought laundry over, and I was like, and I go, so did you just turn it on? You know, like, how far are you? Like, what do you think of what you're watching? And she's like, it's weird. I'm like, yeah, it's a talent show like America's Got Talent or whatever, but for the people who would never get on America's Got Talent, or, you know, any of those other you know, reality shows, you know, reality
it's
competition
if American Idol was all William Hung singing She Bangs.
Yeah. Yeah. I enjoyed the show. I mean, I liked it early on. It seems like Zach Galifianakis was like, all right, I owe Will Arnett a favor. Ken Jeong got really into it. I don't know if you saw the one, there was a couple that came out and they just sang a song. You know, it's called You Never Gong an Asian. And yeah, talking about how it's like, you know, like cultural appropriation and stuff like that. Well, who gongs them? Well, Ken Jeong gongs them.
Yeah, because he can get away with it.
Yeah, it's funny because
but that's the thing, because technically you can gong an Asian, but once you gong black, you never gong back.
Yes.
But I mean,
send your hate mail to ElseNerds@gmail.com.
Yes, or on Twitter @ElseNerds. I do want to point out, actually, I'm going to look it up, but we did get some feedback from last week, and from Bado Winter, and I want to thank you, Bado, for replying about our discussion about, you know, the whole, you know, how do you make, you know, recast and all that stuff. I'm not going to get into it because that would be another 5-hour show. But with the whole Marvel movies and stuff like that, he replied quite a bit, and I apologize for not catching that sooner. But yeah, so the Gong Show, do you remember how much they got as a prize back then? Because I know, like, today it was like, on the episode, it was like $2,000.
It was a couple $100 at best, I think. Yeah, and I felt like this was a play off of it. I think they maybe moved the decimal.
Yeah. But yeah, so that is it for ElseViews, and we will be back with the Else Word.
Are ghosts or Bigfoot real? Whatever happened to all that stuff that went missing in the Bermuda Triangle? Did the U.S. government experiment with time travel? Is there a secret society really running the world? Hell if we know, but you're guaranteed to hear us try to figure it out on the Weird World Weekly podcast. If it's the paranormal, conspiratorial, mythological, unexplained, or anything else strange, we talk about it. Find us on your favorite podcast app or by going to gncasts.com/weird. That's gncasts.com/weird.
For more on this Galactic Network podcast, go to gncast.com. That's gncast.com.